Meeting will come to order. This is a regular City Commission meeting for Tuesday, July 14th, 2015. This evening's invocation will be provided by Mary Wilson. After that, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we thank you for the blessings that you have given us, the blessings to this city and the citizens that live here. We thank you for the opportunity to try to direct our city government in the way that we want it to go. And we ask you to give our commissioners and our staff the decision-making tools that they need to make wise decisions for us. We thank you for the service people who are serving wherever they may be. That includes their families too, who serve along with them. We thank you for the farmers who bring their produce so that we can have a farmer's market and visit and interact with each other. We thank you for the many churches that we have here so that we can all choose that which we want in order to worship you. But we know that all churches are your churches, not ours. And now we thank you for the people that have gathered here. Bless each one that's here and bless those who are listening to us over the waves. Be with us as we continue this meeting. We pray in God's name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Regular City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2015, and 2015 appropriation ordinance number AO-15-12 in the amount of $2,056,751.95. Any corrections or additions to the minutes or any questions about the appropriation ordinance?
Amen.
Seeing none, I move that we approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is welcome and encouraged for all items on the agenda as topics are discussed. Please be mindful of others who may wish to speak and limit your time at the podium appropriately. Anything that's not on tonight's posted agenda that the public would like to speak or address the commission or the city staff, would you please step forward and address the commission? When you address the commission at the podium, could you please state your name and address for the minutes, please?
Mayor Williams, Commissioner. My name's Max Williams. I live at 3408 West 1st Street. And I know you guys don't get thanked a lot, so I come to thank the city for the new Boulder Street they put in. It's wonderful. They did a very good job on it, and I know there's a lot of residents on the west side that appreciate it too, because it's the best way to get from 11th to 1st. So it was much needed, and we really appreciate it. Now, I got another question. How long's it been since any of you drove across a railroad crossing on 4th Street?
Today?
Not good, is it?
No, it's in horrible shape.
I mean, if you go faster than 2 miles an hour, you're going to tear the front end out of your car.
Yes, you are.
And 1st Street's just as bad. Can't the city do something about that?
Mr. Grimmett?
Well, we've contacted Watco numerous times and asked about them repairing those crossings, 4th Street in particular. We've got several different answers, but as you can see, no results.
Well, surely you got some way of enforcing something, haven't you?
We have an ordinance that says that
if we put the railroad on notice that they need to make a repair and they fail to do so, then we can make the repair ourselves and assess the railroad property, I believe is the way it's written. That has not been tested. Anytime you go up against a railroad, they claim that federal law exempts state law and local law, so preemption becomes an issue. In the past, we've tried to work with the railroad to get the railroad crossings improved. Sounds like we need to step up those efforts, but in the final analysis, if we can't get them to respond, the city probably is going to have to decide if it wants to take that responsibility on itself and then try to recoup the money from the railroad if possible.
We had a citizen to complain to the railroad directly, and that's the reason why South Walnut was repaired. But now that being a highway rose to higher priority. So,
Well, if you go north on 169, at least got the decency there to put a sign that says rough tracks. They ought to do that on 1st and 4th, as bad as it is. But I just can't believe the city doesn't have some way to make them do something.
It's the same deal we did with the grass issue, isn't it?
I think it's a little different ordinance, but it's kind of the same,
It's
yes.
the same company.
Right. It is.
Can we
Yeah.
find out how much it'll cost to fix that?
I think we ought to try talking to them one more time. Being they just finished this one, you know, I wouldn't mind calling them and seeing what they got. I think I said something about calling them, because we have a little bit of a relationship. I said the company I work with has a little bit of a relationship with them. I wouldn't mind calling them one time and then look at it in 2 weeks.
Well, and we did that with the railroad right-of-way in the 1100 block behind Bodybuilder, I think, and they were going to send a contractor out to do that. That was 6 months ago. So we've done the talking.
Mr. Christ, if somebody damages their car over there, who's liable for it?
I'd say the railroad. I mean, it's their track.
Yeah,
It's on their right of way.
it is their property.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, I'd appreciate it if the city would try to do something with it. It's pitiful.
When we addressed them, did we address them by telephone, or did we address them by mail correspondence, or?
In the past, I've communicated with them initially by email, and there was a guy that I would contact, and he'd send it out to somebody in the company, and they were pretty responsive. We've had good communication with them in the past, but this is going back 3, 4, 5 years. They change faces pretty regularly, so I don't know who we deal with at this point. I don't mind making a contact to see if we can get something rolling.
Could you please do
In
that?
lieu of email, could we send them like an official letter from the city of Coffeyville requesting that
Want to invite them to the
they
meeting?
do something? I
Yeah.
mean,
And you mentioned people raising it, notice to it in the past. Could we get contact information and make that available for people who are concerned who could also call
Yeah,
directly?
I'd be glad to contact if I knew who to
I
contact.
mean, put pressure from multiple sides. Maybe you'll get resolved.
I agree. I'll send them I can send them a certified letter with the reference to the ordinance that says that the city is planning on moving ahead with
That sounds
improvements, and that we're going to assess the railroad property. Maybe that'll get somebody's attention.
That sounds
I
good.
would agree with that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Max.
guys.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Brooke Ashlock, 1507 Catalina is my permanent address. I came tonight to personally thank you guys, the mayor, city commission, city staff, and volunteers that helped at the cemetery this week get it in better shape so that when families go out to visit the cemetery, they don't have to clean off the headstones themselves. It looks wonderful. I was out last night and took pictures, and my dad enjoyed the cemetery this morning when he visited my mom. So I want to thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Go ahead. I know that we're kind of falling behind on the cemeteries, and I don't know what we need to do to address it. Could we have a quick discussion on what we need to address getting caught up?
Sure. Chuck is here.
I think we have caught up quite a bit. As you know, we have less manpower in that department. And in our discussions on our budget, you've addressed that. But summer will be over by the time we have those employees probably working. But we have caught up, pretty much caught up. We're back on Fairview now, finishing it up. But it took pulling people off of other projects, off of the preparations for the street project to get caught up. Part of the issue, besides the shortage of manpower, is you have to realize it rained almost all week last week, off and on, and especially Thursday, and then Friday it was still wet. And I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just saying, you get out there with a heavy mower after a rain and you're gonna rut things up and look worse than it did, and the grass is gonna ball up.
I'm not going to go into specifics, but I will tell you I'm of the opinion that from my personal, what I've personally witnessed, is that there's more to it than just a little bit of 8 inches of rain. If we had 8, 10, 15 inches of rain last week, the one item that I witnessed wasn't because of 8 inches of rain. It was just lack of it being addressed. And like I said, I don't want to go into specifics, but I think that we have to understand that. And I think it was someone told me that's the cheapest land that you'll buy, but it's the most sacred land that you'll ever buy.
I agree.
And the thing is that I just want to make sure that if you need help and it gets to the point to where it gets where it was, I know I'd like to know so we can address it.
Okay.
I mean, if we can't address it if we don't know about it.
Right.
And it's not our job to go out and independently investigate what each department's doing. If you need help, let us know.
And Chris, I think that one thing that after the last meeting when we talked about getting prepared for the street sealant, and I think it was mentioned that if they put everyone on that the grass will continue to grow. And I think someone said, well, we can deal with the little grass growing. So that's not the entire reason, but they did pull people off of the street to do Elmwood Cemetery. It was done yesterday and today.
And we have to be careful what we do, because if we put everybody on the cemeteries, which at times we have to, and because you're right, it is sacred to people, but we've also got the same people mowing the parks, and we don't want the parks to get away from us either.
And this is an issue that we knew was going to happen when we were forced to maintain the other cemetery, because we've talked about it.
And I think it goes to say that we inherited an issue with inheriting a cemetery, and we took that on prematurely because I mean it could have went to the state of Kansas and it could have sat there for a year. The statute says a year, and in lieu of having that set there for a year under the care of the state and us not knowing how that was going to be addressed, we took it on prematurely.
But I think the commission and staff didn't want to see 3-foot tall grass out there, so you did step up.
That's why
you
we
did step up,
and
even
we
though
took
it
on
wasn't
prematurely.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, and my point is blah 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 and going on and on. My point is if you get behind or you need some help, let us know so we can get you some help.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Chuck?
Chuck, how tall is the grass out there now? I mean, I got Brooks' email late. There was a few responses back and forth.
It's been mowed
Okay.
and
Well,
weed eaten.
Okay, well, Brooke, I want to address you for a minute. I got your email, and I thought it was a little harsh on the city. I got it late, and I saw some of the responses back and forth. And the reason I say that is because we, as commissioners and staff, are right in the middle of a whole bunch of problems right now. And if you'll sit through this meeting, you're going to hear some of that. With this city, and I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to everybody in the city of Coffeyville. We've got budget problems. I've got a list of several things right here that we're having problems with. Like Chris said, the mayor, and everybody here pretty well knows, we had that thing dumped in our laps. And I got a picture from you or somebody, Justin or someone, I got so many emails, that the grass was about this high over some headstone. Was that yours?
Yes, sir.
Well, I didn't think it was that bad, with all due respect.
Must
I
have been
didn't,
the wrong
you know.
picture, Jim.
Okay,
You
well-
couldn't see the headstone.
Huh?
You couldn't see the
The
headstone.
headstone, sir, was my mother's.
How tall was the grass?
I don't care how tall the grass is,
Okay,
sir.
well,
What I
I-
do care is I couldn't see my mother's headstone
Right.
that my dad spent $1,400 to ensure that it was placed there.
Well, how high was
That
the
is a problem.
grass? The
I didn't
picture-
go out there and measure it. I can't see.
Was it about like this?
No, there's places where it was up to above my ankle.
Okay, well, that's why I asked Chuck how tall the grass was
It
a
was-
minute ago.
Jim, it was
And
really
ultimately,
Okay.
here's my biggest complaint, and I didn't want to go here with this, but you've angered me in this with your comments. And what it is the city has an ordinance against this very thing, and the city violated its own ordinance.
Yeah, I understand.
And so anyone that got a ticket on this ordinance this month shouldn't have to pay their ticket because the city did the same thing.
I understand that.
So I'm pretty angry, and I have been very thankful for what everyone did to help get that cleaned up, but it's their job to do that. It's not my job to come here and tell you what you did wrong.
We got the email, and I'm sure city staff's working real hard on it.
I'm
I
sure
can
they
tell you
are.
that.
But I had to get really harsh, as you stated, to make sure that that got done.
Well, okay, well, fine.
Do you have family out there?
Yeah, we got, several slots. I was out there 2 weeks ago, and it didn't look that bad.
Well, what is
You know.
your version of bad?
Well, I was out there, and I met with them, and I looked at it, and it wasn't that bad. And then a week later, we're getting this email that says you could call Channel 6, and you're
And I
gonna-
did.
And I think it's a little bit, I just want the city of Caulfield to know we're working real hard at trying to make this thing work.
And you know what? And I appreciate that, and I respect that. But I don't think you're respecting the individuals that are laid to rest out there at that cemetery, Mr. Taylor.
I think we're working on it pretty hard, okay? I really do.
Well, I think if you ask a number of citizens that's been out to your cemetery this month, they're going to beg to differ with you. I'm not the only
We
one.
just had it dumped in our lap. The grass is mowed now. I'm asking the citizens along with you and everyone else to help us a little bit here, okay?
I have done that. I've gone
Okay.
out and volunteered. There have been volunteers. I have asked for volunteers, and I will continue to do that. But I'm not going to take your excuse, sir.
We don't need Channel 6 called, okay? That's my opinion. You can do what you want. but
Then
I
do your
think it's-
job.
I think we're working on it real hard. We're keeping a real positive attitude on
I
it.
think that there are 3 men there that did their job, but I'm questioning yours.
Okay, well, you have every right to do so.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming forward. Appreciate your comments.
Any more comments from the public?
Any more comments from the public? Moving on to,
I would like to say something.
go ahead.
In regard to this. My name is Steve Moody, and I live at 611 South Spruce. Over a year ago, I went to the the Court of Valor. I knew this transition was coming, and I kind of got in on the front side of this transition, that rest lawn going to Coffeyville City. I went to the veterans organizations, and I have a fund set up at a local bank, and that we're going to take care of the flags and whatnot at the Court of Valor. When we first started it, we kind of went and mowed and did things because the Caldwells couldn't keep up with it for health reasons. I have still money in that account, and I have already bought flags. I'm going to buy some replacement rope. I've got replacement cables out of this fund.
So that part of the cemetery should be taken care of for well over a year, because they've got a year's worth of flags now. They last 90 to 100 days at that location, and they have enough sets. Within the next week or two, I'm going to go ahead and order another complete year supply of flags and get the ropes and cables and whatnot. The city's been real gracious with helping with that. Daniel Clay is out there, and he's real respectful on half staff on the flags. He takes care of all that stuff, along with all the mowing and everything else. So, I mean, I'm not defending anybody or anything. I'm just saying that that's one group of people, the veterans of this town, is trying to help and get that stuff done. So that's going to give you a little more breathing time to get things done. But the grass at my house, I can sit and watch it grow. So I know it's tough to keep up with that grass, and I've just got a yard. I'm not mowing cemeteries, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other comments by the public? Any other comments by the public? Seeing none, we'll move forward to old business. Ordinance number G-15-01, a second reading of an ordinance to create a park advisory board. Paul Kreitz. No changes.
Move to approve ordinance G-15-01 for approval.
I second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Martin and seconded by Commissioner Powell to approve ordinance number G-15-01 for second reading. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
New business, action and discussion to appoint one person to the Montgomery County Community Corrections Board. Our applicant is Ruth Holler. I'll ask Ruth to step to the podium and just give a brief synopsis of her reasoning to be on the board and her career history.
Good evening. Ruth Holler. I am a recently retired assistant county attorney in Montgomery County, so I'm familiar with the Community Corrections Board and the personnel and some of the problems that are facing probationers and those who supervise them. I'm a 25-year career prosecutor, having prosecuted in Sedgwick County DA's office, in the Douglas County DA's office, and also in the Kansas Attorney General's office. I am now the Chautauqua County Counselor. Many of the issues that the Community Corrections Board will be dealing with in Montgomery County will be the same things that will affect Chautauqua. While I do not live in Coffeyville, I am quite familiar with Curtis Simmons, who asked me if I would apply for this position. I believe that I could well represent Coffeyville and the city, and I'd be available for comment, discussion from any of citizens who had questions or concerns, particular-wise to Coffeyville. And he asked me to apply for the position, and I am asking you to approve the appointment.
Questions?
Well, I don't really understand the whole deal. Maybe we should have been briefed or something ahead of time, but, I mean, it sounded like a great idea, but I don't understand the whole thing. I wish I knew more about the whole thing. I mean, I guess we need another somebody, or this is new to me, Ruth. That's,
Okay.
I'm just.
Sure. The Community Corrections Advisory Board is comprised of a diverse representation from around the county. The head of the probation department is on it. The Montgomery County attorney is on it. There's representation from the community. The director of the Community Corrections Program is responsible for the use of the budget, for policies and procedures to be implemented, and also requires oversight from the community. And so it's not just a unique, it's not a one person that gets to control the Community Corrections budget or its policies and procedures. It gives a second set of eyes over what is being done over there, and coordinates with state programs, with local programs, offers advice, reviews budgets, caseloads, things of that nature.
Okay?
Commissioner
Thank you.
Taylor, there are 12 members on this board, and it does function under the county. The first-class cities in a county are responsible for making 3 appointments. The county makes the rest of those. Since Coffeyville's the only first-class city in the county, we're responsible for making the 3 appointments.
Okay, that helped. Thank you, Cindy.
Any more questions? I move to approve Ruth Holler as our representative to the Community Corrections Board.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to appoint Ruth Holler to the Montgomery County Corrections Board serving to January 1, 2017. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ruth.
very much.
Thank you, Ruth. You gonna stick around for the meeting?
She's got a long
Respectfully,
drive.
I've got a little
Oh,
drive.
there you go.
Thank you.
We're just trying to get anybody and everybody.
I'd be happy to come back and report regularly.
Okay, thank you, Ruth.
Moving on, resolution number R-15-80, a resolution to execute a small business loan application for Yates Clothing Company. Assistant to the city manager, Tricia Dunn, to make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This evening I'm bringing to you the first of our small business loan applications that we've received. About in November, the Commission passed the Economic Development Incentives Program, which included a small business development program that was intended to assist our local businesses in any expansion efforts, opening new businesses, but specifically those really that have some sort of ties to Coffeyville, that have had some historical background with our community. This application really met all of the requirements of the Small Business Development Program. Part of that is that this program is not to be used as the 100% financing. It's supposed to be a 60-40. She put in $108,000 into the project, and she's requesting $75,000 for the project. The program allows for 1 point below prime as their interest rate, and she agreed with that rate. So that ended up being 2.5% interest for a 5-year term. The money will go towards working capital, repayment of inventory, and renovation costs for her building. I don't know if you've had a chance to go down and see Yates Clothing Company. It's at 401 West 8th Street in downtown Coffeyville. The building had been vacant for a very long time, and she turned that building around and really made it just exceptional. It's definitely one of our nicest buildings in our downtown now, on a very high traffic intersection. She primarily targets servicing the refinery and other local businesses for their work clothing and shoes. She also has a large line of cowboy boots and women's clothing. I think she said she has silver jeans and Miss Me jeans and some of those high-end jeans that are very in demand with young ladies and men, from what I understand. The product lines that she carries are very high quality and uniquely in the fact that she can actually get them at wholesale cost, whereas a lot of our small businesses have to go through and they're a third-party supplier and the costs are much more expensive than those you might be able to go to Oklahoma City for at like Boot Barn or something. So she's very competitive, which makes her very unique, and we see her as being someone who can thrive in our community. We had the loan reviewed by the Southeast Kansas Regional Planning Commission. Yitka Durman, she does all of the loan review applications for Montgomery County Action Council, and she also does some for the county. I've worked with her for a few years now, and she does a very good work on her full financial review credit applications. She did a full analysis of the loan and approved it, a recommended approval. So,
One of the stipulations is to produce a sufficient number of net new jobs. What's her take on creation of jobs?
She is planning on hiring, she started with 3, including herself. She does intend to add 1 more, so there'll be 4 at the moment. That would include potentially temporary help also during fair and rodeo, during any of our industry ramp ups and things like that. She would potentially add staff. Since she's new, right now we're going to hold the line at 3, which is what she put in her application, but she does see her business growing in the long term. But just like we've experienced in the past, the applicant number that she's applied for that said she will create is 3 with the potential of a 4th.
It's a secured loan.
It is a secured loan. She put up her personal residence and her agricultural land up as collateral. They did an analysis on her land, and it was over $2,000 per square or per acre in value. So she has more than enough collateral to cover this twofold, actually. So, and we'll draw those papers up with Mr. Kreitz to make sure we have all the correct documentation for that collateral in place.
Additional questions?
No.
I move to approve ordinance number R-15-80.
And I'll second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-15-80 for adoption. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Mayor Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Resolution number R-15-81, a resolution to execute a lease agreement with Coffeyville Resources for property at the airport. Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight I bring before you a lease agreement for approximately 6 acres of the old abandoned apron, pretty much just east of the far north hangar. This lease would allow them to put a construction trailer and store their pipe for their Coffeyville Resources new pipeline. They're running building a brand new natural gas high pressure line in order to help supply their needs for their new hydrogen plant that they're putting in. And this is just a 6 months lease for ground for pipe yard storage.
Okay. Questions, Commissioners?
No.
I move to approve resolution number R-15-81.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-15-81 for adoption. Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Mayor Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Resolution number R-15-82, a resolution to execute an access agreement with Coffeyville Resources for the purpose of constructing a pipeline. Thomas Osborne to make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, before you have an access agreement. This is to allow for CVR Energy to both access their easement and be able to get to their easement to maintain the pipeline, construct the pipeline, and all in any inspections of their easement, which lies farther east of our property. But in order to get there, they do have to cross ours. This access agreement grants them access at a entrance that's already there that is used by, I believe it's Campbell is who farms that ground right there.
Commissioners, questions?
No.
Nope.
I move to approve resolution number R-15-82.
I second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Powell to approve resolution number R-15-82 for adoption. Mayor Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Resolution number R-15-83, a resolution to approve a commercial curb cut for 411 West 14th Street for Acme Foundry. Thomas Osborne to make comments.
Thank you again, Mayor, Commissioners. Acme Foundry is in the process of building a new shipping and receiving facility. The location is 411 West 14th Street. With that, they are also requesting to have a 126-foot driveway width open to allow access for their trucks to come into and off of 14th and back onto 14th to access their facility at Spruce. This does require a variance for our standard commercial curb cut, which is usually 60 feet. Again, this one's for 126 feet. All commercial curb cuts are approved by the City Commission as well.
Are they widening the street out there too, or?
The street is not being widened. We are doing some widening on, or planning some widening on the intersections, turning radiuses, and the like throughout that area.
I got nothing.
Additional questions? Move to approve resolution number R-15-83.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Powell to approve resolution number R-15-83 for adoption. Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Resolution number R-15-84, a resolution to execute a service agreement with Barnes & McDonald for the 13.8 kV to 69 kV interconnection project for the electric utility. Deputy Director Mike Shook will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As you stated, the item I bring to you for your consideration this evening is to secure the services to provide some additional electrical design, engineering and construction management services to connect the 3 new units to our 69 kV sub-transmission system. Additional engineering services outside the original scope of work is being needed and required to facilitate this connection. The additional out-of-scope work will include, but is not limited to, the design and procurement, construction management of steel poles, steel structures, foundations, electrical disconnect switches, and electrical protective relaying. This item has not been bid as per the city procurement policy, as it is unlikely that any other engineering firm would jump in the middle of a Barnes McDonald project. So that's why we're bringing it to you as such. And based upon that, staff recommends that the mayor be authorized to approve this additional task authorization for these services in the amount not to exceed $110,000. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions, Commissioners? Motion.
Something we got to do, I guess.
It is
What's it going to cost?
110.
How much?
110,000, not to exceed that.
Huh?
Not to exceed, that's a not to exceed price.
Okay.
I move to approve resolution R-15-84 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Powell and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-15-84 for adoption. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye. I was just looking at item number 7. Electric Utility Director Mike Shook will make comments on resolution number R-15-85, a resolution to execute an agreement with Crossland Construction to construct a pre-engineered metal building for the electric utility. Deputy Director.
Deputy.
Mayor, Commissioners, the second item, as you stated, is to execute an agreement with Crossland Construction to supply and construct as designed a pre-engineered metal building for the new generation facility. We did issue a public request for bids to supply and construct as designed this metal building. We did receive a total of 3 bids for this project, for this building. The first one coming in from Rick Construction out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, at a price of $3,095,500. Reeder Construction at $2,995,000, with Crossland Construction coming in as low bid at $2,902,717. These proposals were reviewed by Burns McDonnell Engineers and City of Coffeyville Utility staff. And I have attached a bid summary in your packet for your review.
This is the building, was you done? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
This is the building that's going to have the control room and
This is the entire
They came and did
metal
the
building.
presentation
Yes,
a while back.
houses, the generators and everything.
everything.
This is it.
This is the building. This is not the foundations. That was, we received bids on that today, the underground utilities and foundations. There's several bid packages that are still currently out. This is just the metal building itself.
This is kind of in the same ballpark. Are we planning on painting them other buildings to match
Yes,
this?
Yes, sir, that is in our
Okay.
plans.
I have no more questions.
Based on the evaluation, staff recommends that the mayor be authorized to enter into an agreement with Crossland Construction Company to supply and construct as designed the pre-engineered metal building in the amount of $2,902,717 for the CMLP New Generation project.
And this is paid for out of the bonds,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes,
And
sir.
all that's all squared away all before we approve it?
That
It's
is
all
completed,
good.
yes.
Just making sure.
Move to approve resolution R-15-85.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Martin and seconded by Mayor Williams to approve resolution number R-15-85 for adoption. Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mike.
Before we move on, we're gonna call for a
Quit.
5-minute break. Actually, current time now is
7-Eleven.
7:12. We will reconvene at 7:20. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We go back to the commission agenda. We're on item number 8, a resolution number R-15-68, a resolution to execute a contract with Decker Construction for demolition work at City Hall. Planner architect Dennis Jacobs will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, I apologize for not having a staff report for you, but we just opened bids yesterday afternoon on the project, and so I put together a brief outline of the procedures that we followed and a little bit of an analysis for you to briefly look over. After direction from the commission, we solicited proposals from contractors to take care of the initial step of the remodeling of City Hall, which is the demolition of the first and second floors of the existing interiors. I sent out proposal requests to 7 different contractors, and I had a request electronically from an out-of-town contractor for a set of documents. We had them out for approximately 3 weeks and received bids yesterday afternoon. We received 2 bids. One was from the electronic request contractor, which was Midwest Demolition in Nebraska, and the second bid was from Decker Construction here in Coffeyville. During the time of the bidding, I conducted 4 tours of the building with various contractors. One contractor toured through on a couple of occasions. The bids came in were widespread but not unanticipated, given that the out-of-town contractor didn't make it to the building to look at it, and the low bidder had toured the building 2 times. The low bidder was Decker Construction with a bid amount of $144,900, and he indicated that he would anticipate 100 calendar days for the completion of the contract according to the bid specs. The second bid was from Midwest Demolition, and their bid was $377,900. As I said, they didn't visit the project site during the course of the bid period. We questioned Decker on the variation in the bids because it's a pretty broad spread, and he indicated that by looking at the building, he anticipated that he would be salvaging some of the items out of the building and trying to recoup some of his costs through the funds from that. I asked him this morning if he intended to go through with the contract if it were awarded to him, and he said he was ready to go.
How soon could he start?
After we prepare an agreement between the city and Decker for the mayor to sign, he will use that contract to secure his bonds, both a payment and a surety bond. Those will take a couple of weeks, and he also in that time will be getting his insurance paperwork for us so that we have all that paperwork prior to. And I indicated to him that I thought that we could get all of that paperwork done so that he could start the last week of this month if he was able to, and he thought he could mobilize and gear up his staff so that he could start before the 1st of August.
Questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I got one. Do you guys have to do any kind of environmental lead and asbestos?
It's already been done.
Okay.
And I pointed out in the specifications to all the bidders that asbestos removal was not a part of this contract. I had available for them, if they wanted it, the copy of the report. In fact, I sent it to the contractor in Nebraska.
Okay.
That indicates the isolated areas where there is non-friable asbestos-containing vinyl tile, for example, or carpet mastic.
in the building, and I directed the bidders that asked the question that if they encountered it, that they were to leave it alone and that it would be taken care of as a separate contract. Typically, general contractors or demolition contractors aren't going to do that work themselves. They're going to hire somebody that's certified in the removal and knows the procedures and the storage of it, because it has to be stored in a landfill and tagged. And normally they would subcontract that work out, and I thought we might as well do it ourselves and see if we can't get some competitive bids rather than just taking what the general offered to us.
So now, doesn't a document have to be filed with KDHE before the demolition starts?
Only if you're removing asbestos. We're not removing any asbestos as a part of this contract.
You might double check on that.
I'll do that. I think that the asbestos removal contractor will have to do that.
Okay, so there is asbestos and they have to do that first?
No, they don't have to do it first. They're going to leave the asbestos-containing material.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Well, if my memory serves me correctly, anytime you do a demo, KDHE has to be notified. But I could be wrong on that, Dennis. I just want to make sure we don't get in the same trap I got in one time on that very thing.
I believe they consider the vinyl asbestos-containing tile as non-friable as long as it's in place. And in a lot of instances, people have gone in and just covered it up, which is what the city had done for years. And so as long as you don't disturb it, you don't have to worry about it. The other area that had less than 1% in the area they tested was the exterior wall, and we're planning on leaving the exterior wall intact as well.
Okay, I walked through there last night with the mayor, and I got a letter emailed to you, and you got one back to me today, Dennis. I'm pretty much in agreement. The walls have to come out, but I'm a little bit concerned about the walls around the meeting room. We might talk about that for just a minute. The walls on the south side, is that, and we might want to talk about that in a minute. I didn't realize this was going to be on the agenda tonight. I guess it went out at 10:30 this morning, and I've had several people ask me how come it's on here so quick.
Because I asked that it be put on there.
Okay. Well, I didn't know it was on the agenda until about 4:30 this evening, and I wanted a little time to think about things. I wonder what we're going to do next. I'd like to talk about where we go from here. Dennis, you and I might have talked about it a little bit. I like the idea of getting rid of all the stuff. I don't want to take out too much. I'm a little concerned about it. I was concerned about second floor. I think all of first floor needs to come out. How do we get, let's set this thing aside for a minute if this is the appropriate time to talk about it, and ask how do we get to the next phase of...
The next phase will be to remove the asbestos items, and we'll send out a request for contractors for that and send them a copy of the report. And the step after that will be to replace the windows. Right now, all of the ceilings die in at the middle of the upper sash of the windows to be replaced. And it seemed counterproductive to me to try to take the windows out without taking the ceilings out. And so the windows are the next step. And I've sent a letter to the Kansas State Historic Preservation Office along with the drawings showing the original window configuration for them to review and advise us on what their constraints will be and their recommendations for the replacement windows. The windows that were put in 1990, 1991 would not meet the state's requirements for being sensitive to historic preservation of the building fenestration. And
those are the ones that are in there now?
Yes, the ones that are in there now. The original windows were paired casement windows. Casement windows are the ones that hinge out from the sides.
Okay.
And they were stacked over a hopper window, and it was a hopper that would project out, I believe. So it was hinged in that fashion. And while the state won't require that we have the same kind of operating windows, they would like to see that the appearance from the street be similar to what was originally intended for the building. And being sensitive to that, I would have included windows that had the same sight line to the jambs and the frames and mullion pattern, but not necessarily be operable. And that's what I've inquired of the state, is to find out whether they will accept that or whether they feel that it ought to be operable sashes as was in the original.
Okay, so that's the windows, and then what's next after that, Dennis?
Then we start back with tenant finish,
With what?
the interior rebuilding.
Okay.
Dennis, how does this stage here affect any mold recovery?
Generally, on the second floor anyway, all of the items that are containing mold will be gone.
So there's
The
two birds.
ductwork will all be gone. The
Two birds, one stone kind of thing.
unit heaters that are up with their plenums that have some mold in them, they'll all be gone. The paneling, some of the interior paneling and the base down around carpet that contain mold, that's all being demolished and removed. I'm guessing that we'll have, if any, maybe 1% on both the second and the first floor of any mold that is there now remaining. The issue is the third floor, and because the demolition contractor will be taking it out in the course of removing materials, the third floor is a little bit different because we're not removing materials, we're just treating the mold. So after we get the window replacement on the third floor and we know that the building envelope is weather tight again, then we can address those isolated areas that were brought out in the mold report and go in and replace vinyl wall covering or go in and repaint or do whatever we need around those windows.
So you think we're on the right path? You told me in your email, so I just want to make it, I think that's a good question for this panel, for the cities. You think we're on the right path?
That's my professional recommendation.
Okay.
Any further questions?
What do we do for architectural service when we get to that point? Are you going to do that?
I think that needs to be determined, and I think probably I need to sit down with Kendall and discuss what our capacity is within the engineering department. Thomas is a graduate architectural engineer, and I've had enough experience and training that I think tenant finish is pretty straightforward. Office space, meeting minimum standards for codes and that sort of thing. The area that by statute I'm not allowed to do on institutional or commercial work would be to stamp drawings that are electrical or plumbing. And so I would probably recommend to the city manager that we use one of the existing engineering consultants that we already have a contract with and negotiate with either or both of those to see which one we can get the services we need for the least fees.
Okay, do we have, I know this is a no answer, but do we have any idea on cost, on what we're going to spend when we're done, after the windows, after the asbestos removal? Any idea?
Well, since we're leaving the lobby intact, there's a big hunk of the floor plan that is not going to be touched except for improving the lighting. The area around the perimeter of the building, there's not more than 10,000 square feet there, and I doubt it's even close to that. I would anticipate that we could, for $100 a square foot, be able to finish out tenant space because the exterior wall will be there, the ceiling will be there, the roof, the floor's there, so structurally there's nothing to do. It's just a matter of putting in partitions, lighting, heating, cooling, and finishes. And I think we ought to be able to do that for in the area of $100 a foot. So my math Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but my math would say that that's somewhere around $1 million bill.
Okay.
Additional questions?
Nope.
Motion?
Move to approve resolution R-15-86.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Martin and seconded by Mayor Williams to approve resolution number R-15-86 for adoption. Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Can I say something before I vote?
No, you should have
Okay.
said it earlier.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye. However, item number 11 on the agenda is comments by, we haven't got there yet, but if you'll save your comment till then,
Till when?
till item number 11.
Okay, okay.
All right, just remember it.
I appreciate that, Mayor.
Next item on the agenda is discussion on municipal facilities renovation advisory panel.
I asked this to be put up here because, that panel was put together almost a year ago. They gave us some suggestions. Some of them I liked, some of them I didn't, but that's what we asked for, was opinions other than our own. My question is, we have these discussions, and the blue ribbon panel, that's what I'm going to call it because it's a big, long thing, gets brought up and where their place is in this. Now that we're officially moving forward, going to start doing some stuff, I would like to know, this is for you, Mr. Kreitz, do we need to excuse these men from their service, or just we're done? Because I don't want to, I get asked questions, I don't want to leave them hanging. Either we need to excuse them officially, or no.
That's up to you. You impaneled them to do a job. I think they came back with you with a recommendation. If you want to get their further recommendations and guidance, that's up to you. If
And
you
we
think
can-
they're done, then excuse them.
And they're more than welcome to step up to the mic anytime they want as a citizen of Coffeyville and give their opinion too. They don't have to be official task.
Are there I think this question's been asked before and probably answered. When they were meeting as a panel, they met at a specific day, at a specific time, and a specific place. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. It was not always the same place.
I'm just saying that
Same time, but it was.
If folks wanted to show up and
You trying to see if they give notice?
listen to the conversation, were they allowed to do that? So what I'm getting at is if we continue to have this panel and they continue to have meetings are under the umbrella of the city, are we going to be required to make notification? Are they going to be required to notify the city that they're having a meeting, or I mean, I'm trying to.
Mayor, we didn't make public notice when the panel was meeting.
Okay. But,
And it was not set up by resolution or ordinance.
okay.
So it doesn't fall under coma?
And they're not spending public dollars.
Okay.
They're just making recommendations to you.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't getting paid anything, Mayor.
Well, I don't know what.
That was
What
humor.
guidelines
That was
are?
humor, never mind.
If you'll recall, we were fired once and then rehired about 5 minutes later.
And see, that's one of the things that I've had issue with. So either we need to officially excuse them, in my opinion, or not, because that way there's no confusion, like he just said. They was fired and hired. And I remember that meeting.
Well, and that was done by a different committee.
Step up to the mic, please.
John Kidwell, 108 North Highland. And this is probably a question for Mr. Kreitz. We were impaneled by a different commission.
we were fired by that commission, and then we were rehired 5 minutes later by that commission. So I don't know that there's anything that you are not beholden to us, and I'm not sure we're beholden to you, other than I think we would like to continue to help if you deem it necessary.
Any thoughts on that?
All right, guys,
I'm ready to just officially excuse them. That way we don't have that piece confusing this already giant puzzle that we've created over the last year. Simplify things, we're moving along, we're making progress here. So I'm gonna make a motion that we excuse the panel.
okay.
There it is.
Motion's been made that we excuse the panel. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Martin and seconded by Commissioner Powell to excuse the Municipal Facilities Renovation Advisory Panel. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
I probably can't vote on that one, can I? Because I'm a member of the panel.
Abstain.
Abstain. That's the word I was looking for, thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
So.
In all seriousness, though,
Hold on.
I'm thankful for the input that you guys had. I really am. I appreciate your input.
That does not obviously preclude you from meeting whenever you want to meet, with whoever you want to meet, however you want to meet, and coming to bring us your recommendations and be involved in the process, because we want you involved. I just think that for, like he said, for lack of confusion, it clears things up a little bit, in my opinion.
With the panel,
And I'd also like to thank you for your guys' service, because, and I keep saying guys, I guess there's no women on there, so I have to be careful. For you folks' service, because it's people like you that are willing to get involved in the community that make it a better community and make things, we don't have all the answers. And so with your guys' experience and expertise, it really helped me a lot, because, I mean, it was, we beat the drum for however long, and you guys came and said, hey, let's look at building a standalone facility, police and fire, and that was, I think that was a good recommendation. And I don't know if I'd have come to that conclusion without your guys' help, and I appreciate that, I really do.
Mayor,
Thank you guys.
I'd like to thank the panel also, because their recommendation to build a standalone facility was something that we, department heads, didn't have the option to even think about. So when they came to us with that idea, and I think that the result of that will show that their hard work was paid off. And also, I want to thank you.
But I also want to say that I see folks here tonight that were involved in that committee work that I don't necessarily see every night or every meeting. And I almost feel like we ought to rescind the vote and keep them on board and require that they come to each meeting, because
I watch on TV.
there's a lot of times that we have to rely on what you guys say, because you guys got a lot more experience than I don't know about. I can't talk for these guys, but for me, and I appreciate everything you guys do. I really do. Thank you very much.
have you got any last comments? You guys are all here tonight. You hear what was going on with second floor and everything. Have you got any suggestions or comments? I think you're worthy of a last couple of minutes if you've got anything you want to say.
I agree.
Okay.
Mayor, Commissioners. We thank you for allowing us to do what we did. We learned a lot. We spent some time looking, and it's gratifying to know that you took some of our advice. As we look and hear what's going on, we feel like you're going in the right direction. The only thing that I probably am concerned about on the standalone, and I'm speaking, I think, for all of us, we're a little concerned about the size of the facility and its location. I think it's a little larger than what we anticipated. It needs to be. I would certainly like to see it put in an area that's very visible. People will see that something positive is going on in Coffeyville. I don't want to see it hidden. I've heard several locations, and I personally, and I think I speak for the group, we feel like the 11th Street location, where McKinley was probably our first choice, and I've heard East 11th mentioned. I think that's a good area. Anywhere where we can see it, we can see something positive going on. And again, I thank you for the opportunity you've given us, and I'm glad you've considered our suggestions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Moody again. Yeah, since we've disbanded and whatever, I think we did diligently getting outside the box and coming up with what we thought was a very feasible recommendation for the city of Coffeyville. And I know we're making progress. Obviously, you guys are getting something done, or the ball's rolling. Just remember, your wants and needs are two different things. You can want a lot of things, but with the money situation, which I think we're going to talk about here in a little bit, make sure we can expand and adjust to that. So just make sure you keep control of your wants and your needs. I know we need certain things, and we need to have potential for growth too. So when you make your decisions, just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Any other discussion on the municipal facilities board? Seeing none, we'll go on to city manager's report.
Mayor and Commissioners, I wanted to report on the budget session that we had last week. I think that was the first time. It was the first time for me in this position, and probably the first time for some of you all. But I want to commend you all for being there. And we made some hard choices. Department heads were there. It was frank discussion. But for you all to take the time out of your daily activities, work schedule, shows your commitment to the city of Coffeyville and the budget work that we have to put in. So we will be bringing that to you next meeting for public hearing. That's all I have.
We'll set the public hearing. No, it will be, yeah, it'll be in August.
So I didn't hear you, Cindy, I'm sorry. This thing's
Public
done.
hearing will be August 11th.
Oh, August 11th, okay.
Is that it, James?
That's it.
Next item on the agenda is comments from commissioners and staff. Does staff have any comments before we make comments?
We received a request from the 8th Annual Can-Okla 100-Mile Highway Sale Committee, and they've been doing this, obviously, 7 previous years, where they set up along the highway. It's a big garage sale is what it is. Previously, and they're requesting again this year that we waive our $3 garage sale permit. They go through the Chamber of Commerce, and I verified today with Stacia that they're working with this group. People will come in and pay the chamber, and then the chamber will produce a map and then make that available to all the people that want to get a copy of the map. So requesting that we are able to waive the garage sale fee for September the 11th and 12th.
I concur.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little interruption, I just got a text from someone that like us to hold the mics out there in TV land, would like us to hold the mic where they can hear. They're not hearing the mayor for one, so. Just
I
got a
concur,
text.
we should waive the rummage sale fee for September 11th for the 100-mile rummage sale. Sorry.
Next is, the Aquatic Center has been busy planning some special events, so I wanted to get that information out. This Thursday will be Throwback Thursday, and it'll be from 5 to 8. They're rolling back the prices to earlier days. Ages 5 and up will be $1.25. Ages 0 to 4 will be free with an adult. They'll also have specials at the concession stand. They're planning to have a cruise-in for any vintage vehicles that want to attend, and they'll open the gates and they can drive in and park on the grass just right next to the pool. I know Max is planning to be there with one of his, or maybe a couple of his vehicles, and he's got several others that he knows are planning to attend. So I invite you to come out and bring your families. That's a good event. And then on July 25th is the Christmas in July, and that's 6:30 to 9:30. I think this will be the third year for this, and they really decorate the pool. Santa will be there. They'll have snow will be going. So it's a fun event to attend. We have officially closed on all 3 of our houses that we had, so we're out of the house business with the rehab houses. Yeah. Now, we still have the neighborhood stabilization house at 1006 West 5th. I do have an applicant that we're working with that looks good to qualify income-wise, so hopefully they'll be able to get a loan. That's a difficult one, as we've talked about with the income restrictions, but we are working on something. After you approve the park board, you just zip right on through. I thought we should discuss the process. I've got an application prepared, and that will be available in my office and also online. There are 5 positions and they're 4-year terms. For the first, 2 of the applicants that you'll appoint will get 2-year terms, and then the other 3 will get the full 4-year terms. But if, with your approval, we'll take applications through August the 5th, and then we can appoint them at the August 9th. Does that work with you?
Sounds great.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all.
Unless you don't have enough or something, then you'd have to.
I'm sorry.
Unless you don't have enough, then you have to put it off a little longer.
Yes, if we don't have
Right.
enough, then
Sure.
we'll wait till we get
Sure.
enough applicants. I think there'll be interest in that board.
Okay.
So the information will go out tomorrow on that.
Okay.
So, something else that I forgot to add is from the budget session, we talked about we need to do more marketing of Coffeyville, and Cindy has put together a schedule starting this week.
Well, I've actually started a month ago. We've been doing weekly articles.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting something in the paper and on the website and on Facebook.
Great. Well, Cindy, you've done a good job with that, and I know you've had help from some other staff too, probably. But I've been
The
really.
information comes from
Right.
other
I've
departments, absolutely.
been real impressed with that. Thank you.
Any additional staff reports? Last item on the agenda, comments from commissioners. I have no comments as of
I do
the
not.
moment.
No, not right now.
I don't either.
I retain the right to make comments later.
Any comments, Jim?
Not right now, I think.
Okay.
Good.
That's going to conclude tonight's agenda. We're-
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely, step forward.
I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the Legion has a legacy run, and Kansas was omitted from their trip. The state of Kansas was omitted from their trip this year. they go around and they generate funds for deceased military. It's for their kids' education, for future education. Well, Kansas is having their own legacy run within Kansas. That legacy run has their first stop at Coffeyville American Legion on 12th Street. They're going to be here between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. I think the city has given us permission to block that whole block off right there for parking. Their driveway is not the safest and the best in the world, but they're figuring 150 to maybe 200 bikes coming through. They won't be all at one time. They run in groups. It's very well organized. But if you can or would like, come on down to the Legion. They're going to fix some food, and we want to receive these people because they're from all over the state. And this is their first stop, and it's the first time Kansas has ever had one just for Kansas. So they go on from here and go through Baxter Springs, and I mean they make the rounds through the state of Kansas. It's a 1,200-mile trip.
What date?
Thursday. This Thursday. They will be coming through. Rod Robson is riding with it. He is a local business owner here. He is riding the legacy run, and he's going to call when they get close. So we can start blocking off the streets and stuff. And that's why I kind of wanted to get up and make that announcement. But I also want to thank the city for letting us block off that little section for that short time for the bikers to park. Yes.
And Steve, it's a fundraiser, correct?
Yes.
And if anybody wants to donate,
Yes.
they,
American Legion. Just go to the American
Okay,
Legion. It's Kansas American Legion Legacy Run
Okay.
is what it's called. But if you want to make a run, get on the American Legion websites. Get on my website. I mean, yeah, you can just bet anybody that's involved in this will have information for that if you would like to make a donation. I recommend if you would like to come and meet some really, really great bike riders, come down to the Legion and shake hands and say thank you. I mean, that's what this is all about. Any other questions?
you're a bike rider, aren't you, Mike?
Yes.
Steve, I mean, okay.
I mean,
Are you riding?
This Saturday is the 142nd Old Navy's parade in Erie, Kansas. It's in the record book. It's 142nd year they've had this parade, and it's in the record book. 142 years of a parade in a town the size of Erie, Kansas. Pretty awesome.
So are you on this tour? You on the,
Personal
Put you on the spot here.
things. I was going to ride this ride, and some personal things come up where I couldn't go on it. But what our ALR group, American Legion Riders Group, is going to do, we have a few that's riding it, but the rest of us are going to be here since this is a stop, and we're going to help. I think the SAL and the Ladies Auxiliary are cooking the food and whatnot, and we're going to help with parking and coordination and all that, correlation and stuff and all that for them. So
thank you,
come
Steve.
down and see us.
Thanks, Steve. That'll conclude tonight's agenda. We are going to excuse into executive session for the purpose of acquisition of real property. We will do that. It is currently 8 o'clock straight up. We will adjourn into executive session at 8:10, from 8:10 until 8:30 for acquisition of real property, and then at 8:30 to 8:40 for the purpose of non-elected personnel.